you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering Manchester City potentially selling Ederson to Ittihad. Talk about, if that move happened, some of the consequences for that move. We talk about Vincent Kompany, his first season at Bayern. Can he lead them to a successful season? We'll discuss Barcelona and whether or not they have any chance to really challenge Real Madrid for La Liga this season. We'll talk about Chelsea's treatment of Chalobah, whether that's been fair or not, with the news that he has been left out of the preseason squad. Now the exit rumors are ramping up even more. And then we react to some of the other top headlines going on in the football world. Before we start off, I'd like to ask that you like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions that come in during the show. So to ensure that your questions get read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donations link. As you can see, they're found at gsmcpodcast.net with your questions. Just put your questions at the top of the list so that I can see it. And it also really helps grow the show. So again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net. We start off with Manchester City potentially selling Ederson to Ittihad. Now, I'll tell you what, this is an interesting thing. This is something that I talked about a little bit before the start of European Championships. Before the start of the European Championships in Copa America, we discussed these potential rumors. And, at that point, it was not concrete whether or not Ederson wanted the move or not. There was the rumors and all that, and that he could be interested. There was also the rumors regarding Kevin De Bruyne, but from the look of it, it seems he's more than interested. It seems he's very keen on making this move happen. Obviously, we're talking generational money here, generational wealth, with the amount of money that Saudi Arabia can offer him. It's a ridiculous amount of money, and it's money that something that you might regret later on if you passed up on this opportunity. He's in the point of his career where he's won every single trophy that he could possibly win for Manchester City, and obviously I talk about this over and over again when it comes to Manchester City. But when you've won everything, when you've won 5 of the last 6 Premier League campaigns, there may be a lack of motivation there in terms of, what else is there needed to prove. He's been at the top level playing for Manchester City for a very, very long time. And, he's not old. He's only 30, which for a goalkeeper is actually a really good age. I think the only motivation there is, maybe he wants to continue playing for his nation in Brazil, and to continue playing for a nation, you probably have to be at the top level. But to be honest, there's still Alisson Becker, who's, the better goalkeeper, the number one over him. And he's not at the age range right now of where he might fall off and not be an option for Brazil. With the fact he's 31, he's only 1 year older than Ederson. So, maybe he looks at that and say, okay, well, I'm still, even if I stay at Manchester City, it's still not likely that I'm going to be able to, jump Alisson in the Brazilian depth chart. So yeah, it's a generational amount of money, and he's won everything. So obviously, him only being 30, if he wants a new challenge, we as football fans, we would prefer him maybe to go to like a different club, a different league, continue to play at the top level, because obviously we don't want players going, fans, we don't want players going to Saudi Arabia in their prime. We want to continue watching them at the top level. Right now, Saudi does not find themselves there quite yet. But, at the end of the day, the money is ridiculous. You saw Kevin De Bruyne, even he said earlier before the European Championship that he would have to consider his future just knowing the amount of money that Saudi Arabia can offer him. And And I think he could find himself there shortly as well, with the fact that he only has 12 years left on his deal. I can see him, play out the last year remaining on his contract and kind of have like an open bidding war amongst the Saudi clubs for a free agent Kevin De Bruyne. We've already seen these Saudi Arabian clubs, they're willing to pay a huge amount of money to get players who are on the later stages of their career with only 1 year left, and they're still willing to put huge sums of money out there for a transfer fee. Now, the fact that they don't have to put in a transfer fee, getting a potential free agent Kevin De Bruyne, I think it makes his value skyrocket, and he could almost triple the amount of money that he would have made. So, I could see Kevin De Bruyne make that move too. City has set a valuation at 40 million, which I think is fair. And I think City will do good to get. It's gonna be now. Can City and Al Ittihad come to a deal? Can maybe Pep Guardiola convince Ederson? Give me another year where we can chase a second treble, which hasn't been done within this short amount of time. So we can chase that second treble. Give me another year. This is potentially my last year too. Maybe he goes in and he tells them, this is probably going to be my last year too. Just give me one more. Let's do some history. Maybe that's the hold up right now. Because if that wasn't the hold up, I don't know. This seems like a rather more simple thing to do in terms of this deal. So maybe that is the hold up. There's still, negotiations is still going on. City has set the 40 million euro price, but I just feel like this move is a rather more easier to do. Now, the thing was Manchester City is they find themselves in a tricky position in the fact that they haven't really been in the market for a goalkeeper right now. They too have Ortega, who is a brilliant number 2. Don't get me wrong, a brilliant number 2, and I don't want to undermine that. I think he's a very good number 2 and a great option for Manchester City, especially he came in last year near the end of the season and he saved the league. He saved the campaign against Tottenham. He saved the campaign against Tottenham. It was a big game, and he made that save one-on-one. He made multiple saves down the stretch into that game after coming on late, after being a sub. And then he played that final game of the season where he wasn't really tested much, but still he was that goalkeeper in a tense, pressurized moment for Manchester City. So this is a goalkeeper with real quality. He plays in the competitions as always, as previous Manchester City number 2 goalkeepers have done. So he does have experience there. The thing is though, he is a number 2 goalkeeper. And when you have a number 2 goalkeeper, there will be a mistake here and there. He's he's not going to be that polished number 1 goalkeeper that an Ederson or an Alisson or Ter Stegen or a Courtois or any of these top guys. They're not gonna be that bulletproof type of goalkeeper. Ortega is not gonna be that. He's gonna be a good shot stopper. He's not gonna let down Manchester City. He's comfortable on his feet. He's gonna be able to play out and play Pep Guardiola style of play, but there will be some mistakes once in a while. And with how tight the Premier League is, even though Manchester City has dominated over the last 6 years, a lot of these races that they've been in came down to the wire. Those 1 or 2 point swings here and there could be very, very, very crucial coming to the end of the season, and could bring a team like Arsenal really could give them that spark that they need to really win that Premier League. I think that's what this loss can do. So I do think Manchester City can't rest easy with the fact that if they sell Ederson, I don't think they can rest easy with the fact that, okay, Ortega's going to be in goal for this season. We're still going to, win the Premier League. I don't think it's as simple as that. I really don't. I think, now look, I'll tell you this. I don't think Ederson is the best goalkeeper in the world. I've always been a fan of him with the way that he's been able to distribute, and he's a solid shot stopper, but he's not one of the best shot stoppers. I think there's better shot stoppers, not just in the world, but even in the Premier League. When you look at the like of an Alisson, previous De Gea's, not the De Gea we saw over the last couple seasons at United, but previous. I think there's been better shot stoppers in the Premier League while Ederson has been there, but in terms of total package of playing the ball with his feet and shot stopping, he has been a very, very good goalkeeper for them. So it's an interesting situation that Manchester City find themselves in. As definitely, as the years go on, it's looking like more of a rebuild coming for Manchester City. With Guardiola, if this is potential last season, I do think there's a potential reboot for them coming. I think De Bruyne, this is probably going to be his last season, and we'll see Phil Foden play full-time, that central role that he really thrived in this season, especially when De Bruyne was out playing in that central role. I think we'll see more of that for Phil Foden. So yeah, I'm very, very fascinated to see how Manchester City handle this goalkeeper situation if they were to sell Ederson. Now I do think Pep Guardiola, at his time at Manchester City, if a player wants to go, they don't really fight. They did, with Bernardo Silva, it seemed like maybe he wanted to go. It was rumored, but they were eventually able to convince him. Maybe there was a guarantee in there in terms of more minutes. But generally, if a player wants to leave, like a João Cancelo, a Cole Palmer, if a player wants to leave Manchester City, or Gundogan, they're comfortable with letting him go and, replacing him with the sheer depths that the squad has. Riyad Mahrez, they've been okay with letting players go, and they don't really hold players against their will most of the time. So I don't think we're gonna find ourselves in a position that it's gonna get ugly, that Ederson is gonna try to force his way out. I think Ederson's camp is also gonna be professional, and they've accomplished a lot at Manchester City. There has to be that mutual respect there with all the accomplishments that they have had. So I don't think there's any chance that this might get ugly or anything like that. And I don't think Man City will hold him against his will. But I do think it's important for Manchester City to have a goalkeeper come in that can be real ilk at that real at that talent in terms of a goalkeeper number one, because when you're a team going after the Premier League, these crucial points matter, and having a goalkeeper number two will cost you a point here and there. It's just inevitable. It really just inevitable. And the thing with that, the problem is with Ederson, potentially getting sold this late in the window, it makes it more difficult for Manchester City to go after that number one. Now, right now, I don't see who it is. I don't see who it is. Donnarumma, maybe at PSG. Now, he's not really the ball-playing goalkeeper that Guardiola loves, but he is a goalkeeper with amazing shot-stopping ability. But I don't see that happening, And then other than that, I don't see, Mike Maignan, potentially, maybe. He's a little bit better with his feet, good shot stopper. I think that could be an option. Lunin had a pretty decent campaign at Real Madrid, didn't do good at the Euros, but he's not good with his feet. In fact, early on with Real, he progressively got actually better with his feet. But early on, the players were taking the goal kicks. Looked like rec league almost. So I don't know, Manchester City. That's a tricky position that they find themselves in right now, in terms of this goalkeeper position, and it's something that should be talked about more as. If this transfer really does go on. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll react to how can Vincent Kompany lead Bayern to a successful season.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we reacted to City potentially selling Ederson to Ittihad. We move on to discuss Vincent Kompany being the manager at Bayern Munich. And, well, this is his first season as Bayern Munich manager, coming off a season in which he got relegated at Burnley. Now, obviously, that's not fully responsible. That's not fully the fault of Vincent Kompany. He was, leading a Burnley team that didn't have the most quality and just really couldn't compete at that level. But they did get relegated and went straight back down into the Premiership. And a lot of people, actually, before the season, fancied them to stay on. To stay at the top of the Premiership, to stay in the Premier League and not get relegated. And there was people that had high hopes, and yeah, it didn't really work out. It came off really bad start. I believe they had like 6 wins, something at sort of a ridiculous low amount of wins. No, I can check right now. I don't think it was 6. It was 5. They had 5 wins. Ridiculously low amount of wins. Finished below Luton Town, which was quite frankly embarrassing. And we're not even that close to getting saved. 8 points. Just overall bad season. Conceded 78 goals. Only could score 41. Had the second worst goal differential in the Premier League. Yeah, they just didn't play good enough football. Wow, I'm looking at the Premier League standings. Minus 37 was Burnley. It's the second worst. The worst was Sheffield, minus 69. I've never seen a number that bad. Minus 69. 35 goals scored and 104 goals conceded. That might have been the worst Premier League team of all time last year. Sheffield United team. Golly, 16 points. Oh. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's unbelievable. I think there was a Derby team that had 11 points. Then there was Sunderland 05-06 that had 15, but wow, that's quite shocking. But going back to Vincent Kompany, while we get back on topic here, Vincent Kompany, this is his first season at Bayern Munich. This is actually the first, not just in Bayern Munich, but the first coach in Bundesliga history to be African American, to be black. Say African American, I'm stuck in America. First black head coach in the Bundesliga. So Vincent Kompany has a legacy that he can really create here at Bayern, and maybe can start a new revelation in terms of German football coaches. Maybe this is an opportunity and pathway for Bundesliga owners to start trusting more black managers since Bayern made that first move, which was big, which is like the huge outlook of it. Now in terms of Bayern Munich this season, the Bayern had a poor campaign last season. Yes, they were able to reach the Champions League semifinal, which was impressive, but overall in the Premier League, they were just not good enough. They didn't win the league by a comfortable margin. Now Leverkusen did have an historic season, and I have to say, Bayern Munich from last season to the season before, there was not the real huge drop off there. Point totals were very, very similar. Very, very similar point totals. Even the year before that, Champions League, they didn't. I think the year before that in the Champions League, they made. I have no idea actually. That was the 2022-23 campaign. I think they got eliminated in the quarterfinals maybe of that campaign. Because I know they got past PSG. Yeah, we'll check real quick. Yeah, and then they got eliminated by Manchester City in the quarterfinals. So they did better this season in terms of reaching the semifinal. I don't think there was a huge drop-off between last year's Bayern Munich team and the season before that. I think the biggest drop-off was the fact that the biggest thing that undermined their success was the elevation of Leverkusen and how amazing that they were, and finishing the season invincible. Really was a dominant force in the Bundesliga throughout the season, and it made the season look worse than what it was. But Bayern have not been good enough for a pretty long time now. Ever since winning that Champions League campaign, there's been a steady decline for Bayern Munich. With Nagelsmann and then Thomas Tuchel, who actually I didn't think did that bad of a job. I don't think this team was just not that good enough. There was a huge drop off in the level of Goretzka's play. Goretzka, he's just not comfortable moving the ball forward anymore. He used to be a decent passer of the ball and had real quality drive in midfield, and he just last year, every time the ball got to him, he had no threat of looking forward. I think when we saw Pavlovic in there, he was much more effective, much more forward thinking, and they played a better style of ball whenever Pavlovic has been in there. Now I still think Goretzka is a good player. He got left out of the Germany squad, but I still think Goretzka is a good player because he's comfortable on the ball. He's very, very tight. He's very, very good on the ball. He can drive the ball forward. In times in the past, he has not been afraid to hit that ball, to look forward and to find the open man down instead of passing it backwards and sideways like we've seen him do over this past season. So I think, maybe with the new manager, there's a new confidence with him. I think he can reach back to his level. Now, the biggest downfall to Bayern Munich over the past few years is the ridiculous amount of money that they have spent on center backs. And despite that ridiculous amount of money spending on center backs, not having any sort of cohesion back there. I mean, it's been mistake after mistake after mistake from Upamecano, from Kim, De Ligt. It's just not been good enough. They spent a ridiculous amount of money over the past seasons on center backs, and despite that, last season they had to loan out Eric Dyer from Tottenham, who wasn't playing, who came in, and he was their most effective center half. I mean, it was insane. It was insane. Now they've brought in new center backs this transfer window with Sasha Boye coming in and Hiroki Ito, the Japanese center half from the Japanese center half, 25-year-old from Stuttgart, who actually was involved in their successful campaign this past season. I think he's a pretty good defender. He's experienced in the Bundesliga. I think Sasha Boye is an interesting player. He's French. He's young. He's 23. He's actually came in. He's actually a right back. Came in from Galatasaray. I think he's a decent player in for them. They actually signed. I know he's a right back. He's a right back actually, but I know they signed a second center half. But I know Josip Stanisic came in from Leverkusen, the Croatian international, who primarily plays at a right back, but he provides versatility. He can play outside center half role. He can play as a center back if need be. I think he's a very, very good player. Bayern Munich loaned him out to Leverkusen, where he had a successful season for them, and now he's back in the Bayern setup. But yeah, I think Hiroki Ito comes in and he's going to be very, very important. His presence playing as a center half is going to be very, very important. Bayern Munich are also linked with the likes. Bayern Munich were heavily linked with the likes of Jonathan Tah, who had a successful European campaign and a successful campaign at Leverkusen. That was the potential second center back that I was talking about alongside Hiroki Ito. Now, Bayern Munich have not been able to get this deal off, and it's probably contingent of the De Ligt move from Bayern Munich to United. So I'm just interested to see how Vincent Kompany can fold it. Now, Vincent Kompany, he is a center back, and in my opinion, Bayern's main issues over these past few years or so has been that center back partnership. So can Vincent Kompany tidy up that center half pairing so there's a solid foundation in front of Neuer, and then the likes of Goretzka, can he get back into form? Pavlovic, I think this is a young player with a huge potential, forward-thinking player, tidy on the ball, should have played for Germany this summer but was injured. He's going to be a great option in there. We know the quality of Jamal Musiala, just brilliant player. Joshua Kimmich, sort of the same. João Palhinha coming in. He's also a very good player, had a very solid season playing for Fulham, part of their successful season. Now, this is a guy with more experience, but he's a quality player. Don't get me wrong, he is 29, so you're thinking, why is someone of this, if he has this real sort of quality, why is he making this move late as a 28-year-old? Why is he playing for Fulham? But this is a guy with some real ability. He played for Portugal at the summer, and he'll keep everything calm in there. He'll be a good rotational piece, and he'll be a good option. Now, they still have Harry Kane, Serge Gnabry. That's another player like Leon Goretzka. Can he rediscover that old form? Because this is a Serge Gnabry that's only 26 years old, I believe. He's 29 years old. But he's a player with some wow, he's 29 years old. Unbelievable. But he has been around for a while. This player with real quality, real ability in front of the goal, especially when he was, on form. And I think he's a really good player. It's just, he needs to rediscover his form. Mathys Tel is another young guy for a Bayern Munich guy with real potential. And then the biggest signing, in my opinion, of the season, Michael Olise. This is a brilliant player. Excellent left foot, great on set pieces, has real quality, has real ability, has real verticality. He has traits of what a great winger could have. He's brilliant, he's young, he's potential. I know Vincent Kompany knows him really well, having to coach against him in the Premier League. Wow, this guy can make this front three look dynamic. I think he can play off Harry Kane really well, and I think this is a guy that can probably instantly goes into the starting 11. That's the quality he has. That's the real quality he has. He's technically very gifted, and he can play in tight spaces, and he's just an overall brilliant player. We're going to get to see him up close at these Olympic Games this summer, playing for France at the home Olympics, as they take on USA actually on Wednesday morning. So it'll be, we'll see it. But there is some quality in this team, and Vincent Kompany does have his hands tied up in terms of, this has to be a successful season for him, because, Bayern Munich will not be afraid to fire him. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll discuss Barcelona potentially challenging Real Madrid for La Liga title.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows. Available everywhere podcasts are found.
Can Barcelona challenge Real Madrid for the La Liga title? Don't want to get cancelled for this because obviously there's a lot of Barcelona fans out there, and they have expectations, they have high hopes, but with Barcelona, we're talking about a team that, in terms of are cash tied. They can't really break the bank financially for these top players, and they're being rumored with the likes of Dani Olmo and Nico Williams. Both of them have not gone through, but they're rumored with the guys. And then you see with the likes of Real Madrid, they're adding the wonder kid, the next Neymar and Endrick. They're adding Mbappe, one of the best players in the world. Those are the sort of players that Real Madrid are buying compared to the players that Barcelona are just getting linked with. Because Barcelona have not done anything this transfer window. Now, Nico Williams, brilliant European championship in real quality, real verticality. Him and Lamine Yamal is going to be absolutely brilliant, especially with the rise that Lamine Yamal is only going to make as being a 17-year-old. Don't get me wrong, this is going to be It's going to be unbelievable for Barcelona if they can get that done, but they haven't got it done. And I'll be interested. This is a club in Barcelona they're probably going to have to sell to get it done. Now, another player that they're getting linked with is Dani Olmo, which is a very, very good player, but you have the likes of Pedri, Gundogan, Frenkie de Jong. You're not going to bring in Dani Olmo to be a bit-part player. This is a dude with real quality. So where can you really fit him in there? Are you gonna move Pedri to the bench? Are you gonna play Frenkie de Jong in that center defensive midfield role, which he does have the ability to play, but he doesn't really have the physicality to be a João Palhinha I was talking about for Bayern yesterday, or not yesterday, last segment, or Rodri or a Busquets. He's not gonna play. He's not like that. And I think you take away his best ability of, I think he's more effective playing, closer to the front three and really, being in those pockets where he can pick out those cue balls and be behind and show his real quality there, instead of, picking the ball off the back line and, really being a distributor, really being a conductor. I think he can do that job, but I think there's better players at that job, and I don't think that's what he's best at, and I don't think where you get the best of his quality at. So, interesting conversation to be had there. I don't think Dani Olmo is the right man for Barcelona. I think Dani Olmo is the right man for a lot of clubs, because this is a dude with amazing quality. He has a great capacity to find pockets in between the center halves and fullbacks. He can make late runs into the box. He scores really nice goals. He's really tight on, really comfortable playing in tight spaces, comfortable dribbler, just does a lot of bit of everything, and it's the perfect sort of player that you want in there. Kind of plays very similarly to Cole Palmer, in terms of, those are the sort of, he has a good goal he's creative, he can create for his teammates, he can pass the ball, he's very intelligent like all Spanish players are. But for Barcelona, I don't see that really being a fit with the likes that you already have Gundogan, Pedri, Frenkie de Jong. You already have those sort of players that can play in those more advanced midfield roles. So why, if you're not at Barcelona, why aren't you looking at the likes for a center defensive midfielder that can play the likes? Why don't you make a move the way Bayern made a move for João Palhinha? Why don't you go for someone of that sort of nature? A center defensive midfield that will do the dirty work, that will do the conducting. Now, in an ideal world, in a very ideal world, the Barcelona of the past, it would have gone just snapped up Rodri off Manchester City, because Barcelona in the past, they had that sort of ilk to them with the, they had that sort of, that sort of aura about them, like they're the best team, they're one of the best teams in the world. They want the player. He's Spanish. They're going to take him no matter what